Hello and welcome to the Leverage Podcast. I am Paul Richard, your host today, and we have Mark Pepper with us, the Cruiseman, all the way here today. So welcome to the podcast, Mark. It's good to have you with us.
Thanks, Paul. I appreciate being here.
It's awesome. Well, give us a little background about you. We know each other through one of the networking groups. And super excited to have you on today. So tell us a little bit about your background, how you got into this vacation/cruise business, and how things are going now.
So it goes all the way back to age 8. My family traveled all over the United States. We had a camper. We went places. My dad at age 8 gave me the map and said, "Tell me when to turn next." And I was the youngest one of the 3 kids, but he trusted me to read the map. And so I have been directing people since I was age 8 where to go. And that's just kind of where I started. But my family vacationed all over the United States. Mom and dad, my sister and I have done European cruises when they were all alive. But I really started cruising about 15, 20 years ago. One of my best friends was a call center employee for one of the large cruise lines. And on their anniversary, they would get a free cruise. All they had to do was pay taxes and gratuities. And he would rotate between his sister, his daughter, and me for a free cruise every year. So the first 5 years of my cruising life, I got free cruises. So it kind of got hooked.
Nice.
Especially when it's free.
Nice.
You know, when it's dirt cheap, you kind of start liking it. So I just got back off my 64th cruise. I'm getting ready to go on my 65th cruise here at the end of June. But I was in group health insurance all over the state of Missouri and Illinois for 35 years, and wanted to make a change of pace. And everybody says, "Well, why didn't you just retire?" It's like, well, I kind of retired and started traveling and selling travel business. So I love what I do, and I travel as much as I can, and I sell as much as I can. And the more I sell, the more money I have to travel myself. So bought the business December the 2nd, 2019, which was 3.5 months before shutdown. So it was the worst timing in the world to buy a cruise agency, a travel agency, but I knew the potential was there, and it's been good ever since.
That's awesome. Yeah, it sounds a little bit like myself. I quit my W-2 job and went back into a commission position 2 weeks before COVID hit. And I thought, oh no, prayed about it, had the family involved and everything with my wife and I. And it turned out to be the right decision. It was a little scary at the moment. Right. So,
I understand.
yep. And your whole industry was shut down. Mine was not. Yet at the same time, it was like, oh gosh, what's going to happen here? So, well, that's super interesting. And I love to hear that background. So in the cruise side of things, what percentage of your business is cruises versus, say, land adventures and that type of thing?
91% of my business comes from cruising. Um,
Very
Partly, I
good.
think that's because of the name, the Cruiseman. The
Yep.
outside of my building, it says cruises. So a lot of people think that's all we do here. But I do about 9% of what we call land excursions and land trips and hotels, rental cars, just basic travel. Um, I just organized a trip for a mom dad that was buying their daughter a graduation present from college. She did 10 days with mom and dad over in London and Rome. I started from the beginning and organized every day for them from the start to the beginning, from hotels to the excursions to food to transportation, all that. Had them a great big spreadsheet of everything they were going to do during those 10 days, hour by hour, day by day, so that they didn't have to worry about what was coming next. It was all just organized for them. So those challenges are kind of fun for me because I really do excel making Excel spreadsheets like that for people. And it's just something I enjoy doing. When people travel with me personally, I have lots of friends and relatives that travel with me. And I've actually met people on cruise ships that now travel with me because they're like, you travel a lot. It's like, yes, I do. And they're like, we want to become your friend. It's like, that's fine. Can we travel with you? Sure. So, I mean, I've actually had several people, like I said, that have met me on a cruise ship. And then, like, 3 or 4 months later, they're like, where are you going next? Like, here's like, can we go with you? It's like, sure. So when that happens, when I get a group of people together, I always give them a very big spreadsheet that this is what day we're leaving, this is what we're doing excursion wise, the ports, etc. This is when you owe me money for this, owe me money for that. And it's funny because when people accept that they're going with me, the next question is, how soon do I get my spreadsheet? And it's like, you'll get it as soon as I get it updated with your name and everything. So I'm very organized in that aspect.
Well, that's great because really you have to be, right, because you've got you've got their details in your possession, and you've got to be able to, like you said, guide them, direct them. If it's one that where you're not with them, obviously, they need to know what's the plan, what's happening. And I look at it kind of like a wedding planner. It's like
Yep.
I just want to get married. You take care of all the details, right?
Right.
So
Right.
that type of thing. Well, that's awesome. So you bought this business in 2019. Had you done much cruising before 2019?
I had, and actually, the owner, previous owner, um, I'd probably been on maybe 15 cruises by that point, and he had it advertised, and I met him, found the looked over the financials of the business and everything else, going, yeah, he's done really good, and I know some places probably where I can expand a little bit. And so I left on a cruise in September, and I'd met him in August, and I left on a cruise in September and said, when I get back, I'll send you an email with my proposal. And I got back late September and sent an email and said, this is the day I'm going to take over. This is how we're going to do commissions. This is how we're going to do this. This is how we're going to do that. And he called me back 15 minutes later. He's like, you're kind of aggressive. You really want this business? I said, yes, I do. And I really want it. He's like, okay, it's yours. So it was very little, few terms we had to come to agreement on because he was like, those are all really, you really thought this out on wanting to buy this and run it. And I go, yeah, I do. I said, I think this is a perfect fit for me. I'm ready for something like this in my life. I've, been in corporate now for 35 years. I'm ready to leave that scene and own my own business, which I had done a few little side businesses in the past. And so when I took over, things were great for 3.5 months. And then, then for 2020, 2021, we were working with what I call old money because money had already been put down on cruises for in 2019. And then that money started being used up during 20 and 2021. So it really wasn't until 2022 that I started actually getting new business in and new money. So for 2 years, I was working part-time jobs all over the area, just trying to pay my bills. And then 24 and 25, we set records. So, and this
That's
year, we're
awesome.
probably going to be doing as much as we did last year. I don't know it's going to be much of an increase because 24 and 25, people had so much energy built up. We want to go out, we want to do stuff again. So that was kind of the splurge during those 2 years. Even though I set records, a lot of it was more than just splurging. It was people that really had been cruising for years, got back out there, and then we had a lot of new people come in to start cruising again. So I really enjoy working with people that are new to the cruise world and to travel. And my services are all free to them. So that's one of the first things, that I make sure they understand is I'm not here to upsell you or to make sure, make you buy because I get paid by the cruise lines. I'm not going to ask you for any money. And I'm just trying to make sure you're happy so that when you leave my office, you get ready to leave on your vacation, everything's going to happen from point A to point B when you get home. I don't want any surprises that'll make your vacation bad experience for you because I don't want that for myself. I don't want that for you as a customer either.
Very good. And Mark, is a when you bought this, were you buying basically a book of business from the previous owner, or did you buy a franchise? What was the situation there?
So I'm actually what they call a host agency. So I actually own the contracts with all the cruise lines and all the land excursions, and I have like over 250 contracts out there that I basically have access to all kinds of travel throughout the world. And I actually have 35 independent contractors that work under me. So the Cruiseman is, I'm an independent host agency. It's my business. I belong to a consortium, which is kind of the way I like to explain it is like when you buy a McDonald's franchise, you can sell Big Macs and French fries. When I bought the Cruiseman, I belong to Travel Leaders Network, which means I can sell their land excursions and all like that. But the contracts with all the cruise lines, those are directly with me. My name, my social security number, my EIN, that's all on those contracts, and those are directly with me. So um, all of his previous clients came to me, with the exception of his own personal ones and his children. He kept those, and then he's actually got a few new ones that are friends of his that he's brought on since he sold the business to me. Him and his spouse. So I brought new customers on through the years with friends and family of mine, and just new people around the Nixa and the Southwest Missouri area. And I sell uh, throughout the entire country. I can't sell internationally. I cannot sell to Canada, can't sell to Mexico, any other foreign countries. It has to be a United States citizen. So I have people that know me from New York that I sell to, that's met me on cruise ships, or they had a relative living here and they said, Mark took care of us, call him. And so I got a call from a lady in New York, and she's done 3 cruises with me now, and she's got her sister coming to me now. And her sister's actually in St. Louis, and she's in New York, and I get all their business because they just like the way I take care of them.
That's fantastic. And so, just out of curiosity, so you say you've got, what'd you say, 35
35
agents under
independent
you?
contractors.
Okay. Was that something you bought as part of the package, or did you grow that yourself?
So when I bought that from him, there were 27 officially on the books at that point. There were probably out of that 27, 7 that have left, and then I've gotten 15 new ones since then. So
Fantastic.
out of that 35, I always say, and it's just like any company, you've got 10 people that do all the work, another 10 that do some work, another 10 that do whatever. It's kind of like that. I have no quotas, no expectations. Some of them just do, 1 or 2 cruises themselves for them and their immediate family in a year, and that's all they give me, and that's fine. And then I have 2 of my best agents. One's in Texas and one's in Florida. Uh, they're both $1 million producers with me, and so I get stuff from them almost every week of cruises they've sold. So it just depends on where they fall, and then some people have things that come up in life. They may be dealing with a sick relative, or they may have a student that's getting ready to graduate from high school or college. So they back off for a year, and then the next year, they're back at it full force again. So I, I just make myself available to help them if they need my help, and take care of them and solve their problems, which things happen and with any industry. And so I try and step in and, make sure that they have the proper support they need, whether it's directly with me or I contact my contacts at the cruise lines and go, hey, this needs to be fixed. Can we fix the form real quick? Because, this happened with the customer and this isn't right. So can we fix this? Things like that.
Got it. So, do you work alone, or do you have a support staff, or how's your structure set up for you?
So my office is actually in Nixa, Missouri, right south of Springfield, Missouri, home of Jason Bourne. If everybody knows who Jason Bourne is with the
Yes.
Bourne trilogy, that's our one claim to fame here in Nixa. I have a local agent that she comes in once a week, and she's fairly new to the industry, and so I work with her on sales and um, excuse me, servicing the accounts that she does have. And then I also have a lady that's in here once a week that does my payroll and my commissions for me. Um, just takes a little bit of stress off of me. Those 2 people can do that. And then when I'm actually on a cruise ship, the office is open those 2 days on Tuesday and Wednesday when they're around to, take care of anybody that comes in the door. But even when I'm on the cruise ships, I I always have my internet with me. Most of the time, I'm where I am. I have a phone when I'm in the port. If it's in North America, Canada, United States, or Mexico, the cell phone works those places 100% of the time. So even though I'm not in my office, I still take care of people. There we go, lost connection there.
Got you back.
So when I'm gone on my cruises or my land trips, I try and get in touch with my customer the week before I go and go, okay, here's what I think needs to be done before I leave. Do you have any other things that you're worried about? And so we'll take care of everything. And then they still know that I can be reached by internet, by email, or by phone when I'm gone. But most of them go, hey, we're done. We're good. Go enjoy your trip and we won't bother you till you get back. Or they'll send me an email and say, what day are you back? I want to come in your office, Tuesday after you get back and we need to fix this or we need to take care of this. So I have a lot of good customers that allow me to do what I do.
That's fantastic. And so it sounds like you built just some fantastic relationships with them and gives you the opportunity. How I was just curious, how many regularly travel with you? What kind of posse have you built?
Anywhere of all my cruises I've done, I've probably done about 20 of them by myself. Sometimes I do that on purpose because I don't have to talk to anybody and I don't have to get permission from anybody, the things that I want to do. That's kind of selfish to a degree, but then again, I kind of like that because I disconnect from a lot of things. And then the rest of the time, it could be anywhere from 2 to 20 people. It just depends.
Very
A
good.
lot of times I just
Yeah.
put out there on my Facebook page, here's all my cruises I'm going on. And people like, we want to go on that one with you. We want to go on that one with you. We want to go on that one with you. So 2 years ago in 2024, I started to go to Alaska by myself. I ended up with 14 people. At the beginning
Wow.
of 2025, I was going to Antarctica by myself. I ended up with 8 people going. It just depends on the one at the end of this month. Again, it was almost a free one from MSC, and I just put it out there. Who wants to go with me? And one of my friends and her daughter says we want to go. Like okay, and she's traveled with me a couple other times. Her daughter's not been on a cruise before, so this will be her first cruise. So there's 3 of us going now to Galveston here at the end of the month. So I never know
Nice.
from time to time, week to week, month to month, who's going or who's not. I've got 16 people going to Alaska again in 2026. I was going with them and I had to step back because I have another commitment during about half that cruise. And it's like, I can't be 2 places at once. So I've got 16 people going on that one. That one was up to 22 people at one point, but there was a family emergency that cut out some people on that particular one. So there were 6 that had to drop out because of that, and that just happened. So, but that'll be 16 people. So I've been sending them a lot of information, a lot of emails going, this is what you need to do at this port. Here's what you need to realize what happens at this port. Here's how you get off the ship. Here's how you get on the ship. Here's your transfer information. So whether they read it or not, I can't tell, but sometimes they'll call me after the fact and go, we didn't understand that. It's like, that's not a problem.
Completely understand. Uh, so you've been doing this professionally, I guess I'd say, for about 6, 7 years.
Starting
What
my eighth year.
changes? What's that?
Starting my 8th year.
Starting your 8th year. And obviously, besides COVID in particular, obviously that was a big change. What have you seen from, let's go back to 2019 when things were normal, right? To today. What have you seen as far as changes in the cruise industry, things going on? I've seen some things on YouTube that have changed. What have you seen that has changed?
So there's several things that have actually really impressed me with the cruise lines, and that is even what we call startup right after COVID allowed us to, get going again. I felt safer on a cruise line than I did on a cruise ship than I did at the big box stores here in town, because the cleanliness that they did around the ship. There was a guy that spent 8 hours wiping down elevator buttons. That's all he did for 8 hours a day, was wipe down the elevator buttons. I mean, they did this in shifts of 8 hours. And that's all they did, was wipe down elevator buttons. You didn't see that when you went to the grocery store or the big box store here. They were clean. I'm not saying there was, they were unsanitary, but the cleanliness and the sanitary aspect of the cruise ships really stepped up big time, because, and they've kept that going too. I mean, you see the cleaning aspect a lot more now. The other thing is that they really streamlined a lot of the processes so that people weren't always huddled together in big masses. And that was partly because of startup. They didn't want that to happen, social distancing. And that is kind of carried forward to this point today, where you don't have as many of those things happening. You still have big crowds, but there's lots of times where you can find a place where you're not crowded with a bunch of other people. Some of the cruise lines have come out with a lot bigger ships. Caribbean has come out with one line of cruise ships which hold right at 8,000 customers and about 2,000 crew. And you would think that that would be enormous and you'd get lost, but everything's just bigger and wider. Instead of having a 2-lane highway, they've got a 4-lane highway. Instead of a winding road, it's a straight road. When you kind of compare the ship to, the older, smaller ships. All the cruise lines, MSC, Carnival, Norwegian, Celebrity, they've all started building bigger ships because people like those bigger ships with more activities. They've also got these smaller, older ships, which can still go into places that you can't get those big ships. If you go out of Tampa, Florida, for example, there's a bridge there called the Sunshine Bridge, and you can't get a big ship under that bridge because of the height. So you still have some of the smaller ships going out of certain ports for certain reasons, and those ships are still more intimate. The old-fashioned big, wooden staircases and big wooden, paneling and stuff, just gorgeous older ships, and they've been refurbishing those, so they're in good condition. So the ships that they needed to get rid of because they were getting out of shape and too old to deal with, that COVID helped get rid of some of those ships. So that helped. So now we've got a lot better conditioned ships. The bigger, newer ships operate at like 38% capacity is when they start making profit and they start actually using more supplies, because you can run a ship based upon 38% capacity now versus it used to be like 70 or 80% that they would have to have capacity to make profit. These newer ships are designed so much better that they only need like 38% capacity to start making profit because of the way that they're operated. They're not using the bulk, fuel and the bulk water and the bulk, food and everything. They've tried to streamline these processes so everything's a little bit more tighter and more efficient, so they're not wasting things. So that's really been impressive on the cruise lines. And you can watch so many bad YouTube videos and read so many bad reports of this ship did this and this ship did that. I mean, there was just a virus that was kind of new virus 6 months ago. I don't remember how long now. That was one ship out of 150 ships that day. That's not a big percentage of ships. So when people, start telling me, oh, I'm scared to go because this happened, it's like, so you were afraid of the other 149 ships that were sailing that day because you heard one ship had this happen? There's rogue waves that hit ships every once in a while. Again, what happened to those other 149 ships that were on the sea that day? Nothing. So when people start bringing up bad things that happen around the cruise industry, it's like, it's that percentage, not that percentage that it happened to. So I still think it's one of the best ways to vacation. You pack, you unpack once you get in your cabin. You don't have to repack for another week. You get to go to 3 or 4 different ports. You get to have all kinds of food options. You can try things in the dining room that you've never ate before. I challenge everybody that travels with me to eat escargot for the first time in their life. Just one. Just try one. If you don't like it, you don't ever have to eat it again. But you don't have to go to a fancy restaurant, pay $15, $20 for an escargot, and then you find out you don't like it and you've wasted $15, $20. Whereby if you get on the cruise ship and eat it, you don't like it, no big deal. You just move on to the shrimp cocktail sitting right next door to it.
There you go. Yeah. And by the way, my mouth watered when you said escargot
I
because
love escargot.
I lived in Maine for part of my younger life, and we get fresh escargot right off the shoreline, and
Oh, nice.
that garlic butter and served that way, so good, so good. We had fresh lobster, and I love oysters on the half shell too. So
Yeah.
some people can't even stand to look at them, but
Yeah.
so
I just did a 2 week Alaska vacation. I was on a cruise for 7 days, and then 7 days land. And they're one of the agents that works for me. She was on the ship too, and so we were sat there, and we had another lady that joined us from Virginia, another lady from New Orleans. And the second night, we all ordered escargot again for the next night. So the rest of the cruise, we never had to order it. It was just sitting there the minute we sat down. Our waiter brought 4 escargots. He immediately put them in front of us. And that's part of the thing I like about cruising is those waiters and waitresses and your staff, cabin steward, they get to know you so well that you hardly even have to ask for it because it's right there in front of you. So, I mean, I love cheesecake. And so every night at dessert time, there was a piece of cheesecake in front of me every night. I didn't even have to ask for it. It was right there.
ah, Cheesecake Factory is one of my favorites too. You're
Yep,
talking my language right
yep, yep,
here.
yep.
And my wife laughs at me because I go up to the glass case and I look at all of them, and I always pick the Reese's peanut butter cup one, no matter what. It's my favorite
Same one. Yep,
on there.
yep.
So,
That
yep,
I love that one. Yep, I love that one.
yep. There's so many choices. So, all right. Well, those are some things that have changed, and now talk a little bit about some of the details. So when somebody, let's say it's your first time cruising, how do you orientate them to know what to expect? And, what are some of the things that you say, this is a no, this is something you should do to experience this. Can you give us a little bit of tips as, for a first time cruiser?
Sure. So a lot of people say, well, I only want to do a 3, 4, or 5 day cruise because I don't know if I'm going to like it. And I really try and talk to them about what a 7 day cruise means because I do 10, 11, 12 day cruises now because I've been on so many cruises. I like to go places, but a 7 day cruise really gets you a chance to experience the ship itself. So you're going to get on the ship, what we call embarkation day. You get there before lunch, so you can have lunch free when you get on the ship. And then you've got the next 1 or 2 days at sea, which we call sea days. Then you may visit 3 or 4 ports. And then you have another sea day before you get off, which we call disembarkation day. So when you do a 3, 4, or 5 day cruise, you're barely on the ship and you're getting right off. So you really don't get a chance to experience the ship itself because these ships have so many different activities that are absolutely free of charge. There's movies, there's comedians, there's theater shows, there's trivia, there is lectures, there's casino. There's all kinds of things that you can do on the ship. And if you're not having a sea day, you don't get a chance to experience the ship itself. So I always encourage people to try out a 7 day cruise for their first time if possible. And it's usually not that much more. When they leave my office, they get a packet from me that has 3 pieces of paper on it in the left side. And the first one is front and back and is a checklist that probably has 60 to 70 things on it that says if you check all these boxes off, you're not going to have any problems. It's a reminder such as, did you get your medication that you're not going to run out while you're on the ship? Did you tell both of your neighbors on both sides of your house that you're going to be gone for these 7 days so they're not worried about your car not coming home? Did you, stop your mail? Did you tell the paper boy, paper girl that you're not going to be, getting the paper at home? All those little things. Did you schedule the dog kennel, a month in advance because sometimes you have to? I have a checklist that they will go step by step. And if they follow that checklist, a lot of their questions, a lot of their situations will be taken care of. The next one, it says, these are the things you should pack. And here's the things do not pack, period, because they will be confiscated or totally taken away from you forever. And then the last one is just basically some other places that you can look to find out information about the port. There's various sites that you can, besides Wikipedia and Google, I mean, there's some actual sites that will tell you exactly what's happening in that port that day. So they get all that information from me. And I really, especially if it's a ship I've been on, if they're getting ready to go on the Mariner of the Seas with Royal Caribbean, you got to go see the ice skating show because it's got the best ice skating show in the entire, fleet of Royal Caribbean ships, and probably in the world. It's one of my favorite things to see. If you want to go on the Icon of the Seas, you're going to see the Wizard of Oz musical. If you go on one of the ones, I think Harmony of the Seas, they just got rid of Grease. And I saw Grease on the Broadway show, Grease production there on Royal Caribbean ships. Tell them about what things that they can do. What's going to happen at dinner? You can order 2 appetizers. You can order 2 entrees. You can order 5 desserts if you want to. Nobody's going to look at you funny. What is specialty dining? Do you really need to do specialty dining? What's it going to cost you if you actually do go on the cruise ship? Is it going to be more money once I get on the cruise ship, or are they going to nickel and dime me for everything? Depends on what you're wanting to do. If you want a soda, yeah, that's going to be $4 a soda. But if you get the soda package, that's $12 a day. You can have 4 or 5 sodas. That's a better buy for you. But if all you're going to do is drink 1 soda during the entire day, don't waste your money on that. Same thing with drink packages. Are you really a big drinker? Are you going to be drinking 5, 6, 7, 8 drinks a day? Or are you one that has a glass of wine with dinner and that's all you need? If all you need is a glass of wine with dinner, buy a bottle of wine the first night you get on the ship. That's going to last you 3 or 4 days. Buy a second bottle the second time you need it. And you're going to spend probably $140 versus spending $400 or $500 on a drink package. So I try and do a lot of education going, just because everybody says that's what you should do, what do you need to do? Because if it doesn't really affect you and it's not going to help you, why waste your money? So those are the trying things I do for people to say, here's what you can do and here's what you shouldn't do. And, they have my personal cell phone number. So if they're standing at the terminal going, we're in Galveston, we're not sure exactly where we're supposed to go, I'll go, describe where you are at the terminal. Take a left. As soon as you get down where you can take a right, and you're right there. I'm available for my customers. If I'm available, I'm available to help them. I had my one customer who was in Italy. He was like, the train's not going to get us there in time. It's like, because they put you on the wrong train. They gave you the wrong train tickets. You need the 7 o'clock train ticket. You don't need the 9 o'clock train ticket because that won't help you. But you're going to get there late. So you need to go back and get the 7 a.m. ticket. Never heard another word out of him because it was just, I knew what was going on. And that's what I do to help my customers, to make sure they're happy and that they're comfortable. Because again, I've traveled enough that I can pretty much get myself anywhere around any town in any city. It may take me, a day to orient myself, but I can at least try and give them some guidance. Here's where you need to do. Here's the person you need to find and talk to. Once you find that person, you'll be taken care of. If that doesn't take care of it, call me back.
That's awesome. Yeah. And you mentioned something there. It's very interesting to me because about 2 years ago, my wife and I decided we wanted to go on a cruise, and we were going to leave from, let me think about this. I can't remember what port we were going to leave. I think it was Miami. And then we were going to go down to Panama, was on the far end of that cruise. I think we went to Belize, etc. And so we called MSC and we set it up, and everything was cool. And then I asked the rep, this was directly with the line, and I said, both of our passports have expired. Is that going to be a problem? And he said, nope, not a problem. It's going to be fine. And so I had that, on record. And because by the time it was going to happen, we couldn't get them renewed. It didn't seem like possible. So anyway, long story short is then when they had me go through the process of, registering and doing all my stuff, it said passport number, passport number, passport number. And I called the guy back and I go, hey, this won't let me do that. And he goes, oh my gosh. He says, Panama will not allow you even get on the ship without that. All the rest of the ports are fine. That one will not even let you get on the ship. So we can't even do that cruise. And fortunately they refunded 100% on that. And that could, because that was their mistake and they knew it, that type of thing. So, so they, sometimes you got to ask the right questions. I'm glad you go through a list on those. I do have a question for you. Have you ever
Sure.
gone, or have you gone through the quest on Royal Caribbean?
Okay, you're looking at a guy that has won 10 times, gotten second place 4 times, and third place 5 times. So yeah,
Okay. Okay.
so
I
yes.
won. I won one by mistake. I had just, long story short, we won't let the cat out of the bag, but basically I was on a cruise from Rome up to Istanbul and around Greece. And so one night it was Royal Caribbean, obviously, and I had won the night before Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. And they helped me out to win the lady that was up there. And so the next night, I heard about the quest. I didn't know anything about it. And so I went in, I had my Diet Coke. I'm sitting up the very top of the rim of the event. And I'm just going to say, I'm just going to watch what goes on here. I have no idea what's going to happen. And the lady that the night before had helped me win the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire was in my section. And of course, they pick a woman and a man out of each section. And so she goes, hey, Paul, come on down. And I'm going, all right, whatever, let's just go. And we won that night. Okay. And so I had every umbrella, Royal Caribbean, shirts and everything else from that cruise. And so my wife didn't know I did that, but the
Oh,
next day I was on the DVD up on the screen, and everybody on the ship knew who I was. She had no idea I did that. So very, very, very fun.
yeah,
So
when I get to that show, and they actually have that show on other ships, they may call it a different name. A lot of the
yeah,
other lines have that. But the minute I get into the arena or wherever they have it, I find the section and go, okay, who's been here before? And you all move to the front, and the other ones that have not, I'm going to explain to you what happens, and just realize how you can help win the
yep,
section. And so,
yep,
yeah, I usually have known the next 2 or 3 days. That's the guy that helped us win Quest. It's like, yep, because I'm a serious player, and my cousin that has traveled with me 8 times, we both have our bag of goodies that we take. And she has
yes,
certain
yes,
things, and I have certain things we take, and we've played it enough times that we know we may be the only one with that item. I love,
sure,
I
sure,
love the
yeah.
game.
And I was fortunate that the lady that I was with knew the game, and she kind of set it up that way. So
Oh,
that's
yeah.
fantastic. Um, so I just happened to get off, of all things, recently. I got off the Margaritaville
Right.
Paradise, which is like the smallest ship I think in anybody's line at all. And we did a 4 day down to the Bahamas and that kind of thing. But a lot of what I really realized, and I've been on probably 6 cruises, I guess, over the last couple of years, and so what I realized is, you mentioned earlier, get a longer cruise. One of the things is I can actually relax. I can sleep. I can, I don't have any schedule that I have to do. Usually you're at least at sea the first day. And one story was my daughter got married in Jamaica on one of the cruises when we left from port. And she said, Dad, I hardly ever saw you. I mean, I said, yeah, well, yeah, I was sleeping 12 hours a day, and I was so relaxed to get away. So, so enjoy those things,
Oh, I nap.
and
I take a
take
nap every
advantage of it.
day. I take a nap every day.
Yeah.
Honestly. I'm just so disconnected and so relaxed, and yeah, I like the atmosphere. And people are like, "Aren't you tired of cruising yet?" It's like, nope, not yet.
Nope. Nope. It's just a wonderful thing, and you don't realize how disconnected you can feel, and to get away. And just sometimes at night on this Margaritaville cruise, I was up on the top deck at about 2 a.m. just taking some notes and thinking about business and doing some things, and collecting my thoughts. And I stood up and I looked out over the edge of the ship, and there was 7 other cruise ships around us with all the beautiful lights and everything. And so, there's things, and you get to see the Milky Way sometimes, which you don't get to see when you're on land. So there's all these things that you get to experience that are not normal, I guess, what you'd say. And I got one of my cruises, I got certified for scuba diving
Oh, nice.
on in that, and then cruise certified. Well, actually, it was a full PADI certification, and so I got to go diving several islands and that type of thing. So yeah, so do use that time wisely and have some fun with it. Do that. It's so exciting to do those things. Enjoy the entertainment, like you said. The other thing I'd recommend, I don't know if you do, lose 10 pounds before you leave.
Well, so people are always asking me, why are you not heavier because of all the cruises you go on? And I go, I'm a single guy, so I don't eat healthy at home. But when I'm on the cruise ship, I have so many options to eat healthier with better food quality and better selection that I actually lose 1 or 2 pounds, and I actually do a lot of walking because all the cruise ships have a track on them, and I do a lot of walking. And so I very seldom ever gain weight. I usually end up losing 1 or 2 pounds when I'm actually on the cruise ship because I'm not eating fast food, on my way home like I will today. On the way tonight, when I leave, I'll probably grab a sandwich on fast food on the way home. I'm not eating that type of food when I'm on the cruise ship. I'm actually eating healthier, quality, better food. So, but yeah, that's one
I
of
would
the
say
things I
you're
caution
unique
people.
in that. You're probably
Yeah,
a little unique in that regard.
but I do caution people about eating on the cruise ships because I said if you've ever been to Golden Corral or Ryan's when they used to have Ryan's or any of these buffets, even a casino buffet, you're eating that buffet for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Now imagine that you're eating that 3 meals a day, and you're only used to going out to that Golden Corral once a week, maybe once a month, for that big meal. And the rest of the time you're eating basically, your basic breakfast, lunch, and dinner at home or at the office. But here you've got breakfast, lunch, and dinner at a buffet or main dining room where you have all the food that you want to eat, plus pizza whenever you want to, plus ice cream whenever you want to, sandwiches, little desserts anytime that you want to at the little cafe on the ships. You're going to get sick after about 2 or 3 days of eating that stuff because your body's not used to that much intake of food. So that's one of the other things I caution people, especially first time cruisers, think about that. Are you used to eating that much food where it's going to be a problem for you after 2 or 3 days? And why people get seasick sometimes? Because they've ate so much food that their body's going, we got to get rid of it some way. And you're sitting here rocking back and forth, and they get seasick because they've ate so much food. So that's part of the other thing as I kind of caution people. It's like, yeah, have 2 appetizers. I usually have Caesar salad and a shrimp cocktail and escargot. A combination of those 2 things. I always get a steak, and the potato and everything else. And I'm a huge dessert people, so I usually have 2 desserts. But again, I usually ate a light lunch or an easy breakfast because I know I'm going to eat big that night, based on what's on the menu. So it's a good thing, it's a bad thing to have that much food available to you, But
It is. It is.
Margaritaville,
Yeah.
just
So,
just to comment, Margaritaville is an old Carnival ship.
oh, is it really? That one
Yeah,
is? Yeah.
yeah. They
And
bought
is the Islander as well?
I believe all 3 of the ships that Margaritaville has now are old Carnival ships, and they
Yep.
are
And
still
I
in good
think
shape. I
the
mean, they refurbished them really good.
yeah, yeah, that one was really really good. And then I think it's the Beachcomber maybe that's coming
Beachcomber.
out
Yep.
next year.
And the
Or I don't know if
Paradise is the one
it's
that's out of West Palm Beach, and that's the one that used to be Bahamas Paradise for many, many years, like 10 years. And then when uh, the Jimmy Buffett Corporation, not Jimmy Buffett himself, but the Margaritaville Corporation took it over, then they renamed it, the company and everything else, and refurbished the ship at that point, and with the paint job and everything else that's on it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, I've never heard "It's 5 o'clock somewhere" more times than I did in those 4 days. And so I've been playing the Alan Jackson version of that with my wife, and she loves it. And we just sing it together and have
Yep,
fun, you know.
yep, yep.
So you just, those cruises, there's so many things that happen. You meet so many interesting people, hanging out and just talking. I'm into naturopathic health with my wife, and there's a guy there that, this last trip, he actually owns a hyperbaric chamber company, which is super interesting, and all that. He's an engineer, and he designs them and does all those things. And, so you have time to learn and we met a young couple from Indiana. They were on their like second honeymoon, and we played some cornhole with them and hung out, and it's just so interesting. He was raised in Lebanon, I think it was, and stuff, and missionary parents, and so there's so many interesting people that you get time where you normally in the day-to-day life you can't slow down long enough to enjoy those times, right? You know what I mean?
I have met so many people on the cruise ships that are still very good friends of mine. I still cruise with. A couple that I was on Panama with, I sat at their table every night for 12 nights. And I came back to the ship one night and said, or to the dinner table, and I said, everybody talks about what they did that day. I always sat with the largest group of people I can, with a table of 10, because I like to meet people. And they were like, so Mike and Lisa were like, what'd you do today, Mark? And I go, I just booked a cruise. Where'd you book to? Antarctica. And they're like, what? We want to go.
Yeah.
So they immediately went with me to customer service. We booked them on Antarctica. And so they were one of my Antarctica friends with me. There were 6 of us that ended up going to Antarctica this year in January. Um, and then again, during that trip to Antarctica, I went back to the table and I go, well, I'm booking a cruise tonight. Well, where are you going to go this time? I said, Malaysia, Thailand, and Bali. And Mike and Lee were like, we're in. So again, there's 4 of us already scheduled for that one. But one of my bucket list items this year, I mentioned earlier, I went to Alaska, Antarctica. I was in the Antarctica Circle. In May, I was in the Arctic Circle. So I've been to both this year. That was kind of my bucket list thing in 2026 was to get to both places in 2026. So I was really
Very
happy.
cool. Very cool.
Two
Yeah.
things.
Have they gotten Fifi Island back in shape, or do you
Fiji,
know? No,
Fiji Island.
Fifi Island in Thailand.
I do not
Have you
know.
heard of that?
No, I do
Oh,
not know.
okay, okay. It was wiped out by the hurricane slash tsunami stuff, and so I didn't know if that had come back or anything like that. But
I have not
so
heard that.
okay, I think it's PHI. I think if I remember right.
Okay.
And one other thing before we go, can you talk about? All right, so you said you don't charge anything for your services. Obviously, you're compensated by the companies that provide the cruise and et cetera. Well, that's really cool. Are there tips and tricks, or how do cruisers sometimes are really want to find a deal? Can you talk a little bit about that whole idea of getting a cruise deal? I think before we got onto the podcast, you said if you buy early on, or maybe you said it on the podcast, if you buy early on, you get a better deal. Can you talk a little bit about strategy there, maybe?
So my cousin and I, again, she's been on 8 cruises with me. We wanted to do something for our 60th birthday. I'm 63 now. So for our 60th birthday, so when I was turning 58, I said, I'm going to start booking something for our 60th. Instead of, she's like, okay. She pretty much says, whatever you want to do, just let me know. So I'm probably
Yeah.
going to be okay with it. And so I figured, let's go from Athens, Greece, to Barcelona, Spain. I had not been in that part. And so then I also figured that we were going to be in Athens for 3 extra days and Barcelona for 4 extra days doing stuff in those areas because I didn't know if I'd ever be back to those areas. So by booking almost 2 years early, Karina and I got an interior cabin for a 7-day cruise for $605 each. That was the
Wow.
cabin. the cruise fare, the taxes and gratuities for $605 each because we booked almost 2 years out.
Wow.
And
Wow.
so I
That's
have stuff on the
incredible.
books for 2027. I've got the stuff on the books for 2028 already because I book things at least 18 to 24 months out, basically as soon as something's available. And I know people don't always have that convenience and that opportunity to be able to do that, to plan their lives that far in advance. Thankfully, the way I live my life and my business, I can do that. But if you can figure out when you normally like to take your vacations, book it a year out, book it a year and a half out if you can, because prices go up. The closer it gets to sale date, they start making profit, like I said, nowadays around 38%. So those last minute deals they don't have like they used to. We get military discounts, we get fire and EMT discounts, we get 55 and above discounts. You get loyalty discounts if you go to the same cruise line over and over and over. So most of my cruises have been with Royal Caribbean just because it's kind of where I started. So I get a lot of
Oh,
freebies on Royal Caribbean and I also get some discounts being part of their loyalty program. So that's what you can do. I get the exact same prices that you get when you go directly online or directly to the cruise line. So what my job is to do is to make sure when you're getting the right deal, because if there is a sale going on, I make sure that that happens for you. And if I find out that it can be applied to your cruise after the fact, I can do that also. So my background and my knowledge is free to help you through the process. And I'm there and I hardly ever look at the commission that I'm getting until the sale's done because I try and make sure that customer's happy, and that they understand everything because if they're happy and they like it, they're going to come back to me. So when I try and make sure that they have the very best opportunity, I will tell them, okay, you said you wanted to go the last week of July. Do you realize the last week of July is very, very busy? Why? Because families are doing their last minute vacation before they start getting ready for school. So once the first 2 weeks of August starts, prices go down because families have stopped traveling. So the cruise lines are needing more passengers. So just by explaining to that customer, have you considered the first week of August instead of the last week of July?
ah,
A, there'll be less kids. No offense against kids,
sure,
but you'll
sure.
have less kids and your prices will probably be better. Same thing with the first 2 weeks of December. People have stopped traveling for Thanksgiving. They're not going to be traveling for Christmas yet. So those first 2 weeks of December, you're going to find me on cruise ships usually the first 2 weeks of August and December just because of pricing. So it's that's type of things. When people come to me and go,
Yeah.
well, we want to go on spring break this year. It's January. Prices are going to be ridiculous in 3 months. I can't get you a good deal. Now I can start working on you for 2027 or 2028 for spring break, but not this year because it's already done.
Yeah.
Alaska.
Yeah.
Alaska is about a year and a half out that you have to book Alaska because they have such a short season that you got to do it. 27 is getting full. 26 is basically sold out, but 28 will start being available here sometime in the next 6 months. So the farther out you
Very
book, the
good.
better it is. A travel agent can help you. There are travel agents that will mark up the business. I know some in the area that does it. They'll put an extra 5% or 10% onto the booking. I don't do that. I make enough money. I want to make sure that person comes back to me. So if they find a price online, chances are that's a starter price. It's for an interior guarantee cabin. And they say, well, we're okay with an interior cabin. We found one for $405 online. Okay, that's a guarantee, which means that they're going to pick it for you. Well, we want to pick one. Okay, that's going to be $435. It's going to be $30 higher. Oh, well, we didn't know that. Well, that's where I come in to play is because I understand how the pricing operates.
Sure.
Carnival, again, nothing against Carnival in the way they do pricing, but they have like 20 different codes that they use. So if you get a code in the mail and I don't see that code on my list, I got to get that code from you and I can match that code. I may not be able to see it for some reason in my system. Well, all I have to do is call and I can get that code for you. Um, Norwegian they used to have a program called Free at Sea. And everybody was like, whoa, I get all this stuff free. No, you don't. That's a $300 extra surcharge to have that stuff free. No, it says free. There's a surcharge that you would have ended up having added to your reservation after the fact. That's in the fine print if you read the fine print, but you're not going to read the fine print because you see that price is $600. And I'm telling you it's $680. They're like, why are you higher? I'm not higher. I'm just giving you the correct picture. So again, nothing against Norwegian, nothing against Carnival, nothing against Royal or MSC. It's how it's priced and how you understand the pricing. It's just like when you go to buy a new car. Well, did you get the floor mats thrown in, or are you going to have to pay an extra $250 for those floor mats? You
Right.
know, well, the floor mats were in the car. Well, they were in there, but were you being charged for them? Or are they going to add that onto the final bill? That's what it comes down to. Is I understand how it's priced, and I'm going to make sure that you understand what I'm presenting to you is correct, and it's not. There's no hidden fees because people hate that. Because that's one of the questions a newbie will ask me. We've never been on a cruise. What other expenses are we going to have that we don't understand or know about right now? And I go, I've explained everything to you. There's not.
That's fantastic. Well, let's conclude, Mark, with what's the best way if we got listeners and viewers that are interested in getting a cruise booked with you, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
I really prefer somebody to call or email and set up an appointment if they're able to come in here to Nixon to my office. I officially live in Branson, Missouri, so I can actually meet people at McDonald's or something where I have Wi-Fi. I've done that. I've done that when I've gone home for the evening. But I will actually have an evening appointment if somebody is working, husband and wife are working, or you got husband and wife and two kids, and then you want everybody to be here so the kids are out of school and mom's off work and dad's off work. I'll do an evening appointment. The reason I like to do it in person is because we can play on the computer. We can go, okay, if we do this instead of that, I can save you $300 overall. That $300 will pay for the four of you to do a shore excursion at Costa Maya. So if you will accept this aspect versus that aspect, you've already got your money to cover a shore excursion in Costa Maya. So right there, I've helped you. If they can't make it in person, they can call me. We can do stuff over the phone. We can also do it by email. The one thing I really like to have and actually need to have is complete names and dates of birth of people, because the age cutoff for a child versus an adult most of the time is 12 or 13, depending on the cruise line. So when they say we have 4 kids, what ages are they? They start
Mm,
saying, well, we've
yeah.
got an 8, a 10, a 12, and a 15. Okay, there's 4 adults and 2 kids. They're going to be charged as adults? Yes, they are. So by having the actual dates and names, I can actually put a quote together that's actually correct and real and final priced with a cabin picked out. I give it to them. It's going to tell me that they have 24, 48, 72 hours to make a deposit. If they don't make the deposit, it just disappears. Doesn't cost me anything, doesn't cost them anything.
Hmm.
No, they can come back, in the next week and go, we know we missed the deadline. We still want to do this one. So I go in and reprice it. Sometimes it's the same price. Sometimes it's slightly higher. Sometimes it's slightly lower. You never know,
Hmm.
you know. But the thing about it is, with accurate information, it's a better picture because somebody just says, we like a quote for 4 adults going out of Galveston first week of August. Okay. Are you sharing the 4 adults in one cabin? Are you both doing 2 and 2? Are you doing 2 interiors? Are you doing 2 balconies? Are you doing 2 ocean views? Because I can give you the cheapest price with all 4 of you in one cabin. But if you're not going to be happy that way, I've wasted my time and I've wasted your time. Where if I can get
Sure,
actual
sure.
facts
Yeah.
from you. And so sometimes people don't want to give me all that information, but it's really the best picture that I can give. I mean, if you try and buy a house and you don't have your P&L, your W-2s, your budget,
Hmm.
you're not going to be able to buy a house. You can go look as many houses as you want to. But
Right.
if you're trying to
Right.
buy a $150,000 house and you qualify for a $130,000 house, you've wasted the realtor's time, you've wasted your time. So that's why the more information that I have that's correct, the better the picture that will be given and the more accurate. And again, if it doesn't satisfy you, it disappears. It doesn't worry, doesn't cost me anything, doesn't cost you anything. So appointments the best. Phone calls and emails are okay. I mean, I just sold a first timer a cruise when I was in Alaska. He says, I don't want to wait that long. He says, what do you need? I said, give me your names, your dates of birth, your street address, your cell phone number. And I put it all together and sent it to him. He's like, so when can I talk to you on the phone? He said, I could. And I said, this day I'll be in port from this time to this time. Give me a call. He did. We talked about 15 minutes on the phone. He said, I'm talking this over with Michelle tonight. When can I call you next to give you my card? I said, not tomorrow, but Thursday. So he called me Thursday, gave me his card. And then he says, when are you going to be back in the office? I said, Friday late. He says, I'll come in Tuesday. So him and his wife came in on Tuesday. We talked about short excursions and everything else. Satisfied customer. So
Awesome. Awesome. All right, sir. Well, thanks again for appearing on the podcast. It's been a pleasure and I've learned so much. And thank you very much for taking time out of your schedule to be with me.
I've enjoyed this. Thank you very much.